bit of an introduction, and then we're going to ask you some questions and just answer as applicable.
Yeah. So welcome to the PAC's first video interview with the band, our latest podcast on July 6th, 2020. I'm Tristan, main host and PAC's sort of community leader, so to speak. And Nick is my right-hand man and my co-host. Lawrence is my left-hand man, my other co-host, and my general advisor. And
hello.
Welcome to the PAC podcast. How are you guys doing?
All right.
Lovely.
And welcome, Halcyon. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Halcyon, yeah.
Halcyon, yeah.
You're at first.
Yes, Halcyon. Yeah, we all listened. I listened to your album today, the EP, which is very, very interesting. Got a different genres I could hear in there, and so we got a few different questions. But would you guys like to first tell us a bit about I don't know, just how you guys started and where it all began, really?
Yeah, it all sort of began at uni for us, really. The EP is actually called Nightwalks because before we started the band, Charlie and I used to go on these walks at night when we were having particular sort of in-depth discussion about sort of our mental health, and we'd sort of gotten out of very important relationships at the time, and that was quite an integral part to us sort of wanting to create music together. And then, Luke was one of our best friends and still is. So
I like that use of past tense there.
Yeah, I know. And I was just like, shit, wait, no.
That still is.
And still is. And
don't tell him.
We all three of us got together and we started this really great thing. And we found that we had really great energy together, and we haven't stopped writing songs since, really.
So mental health was actually an integral part of it in a weird, interesting way, you would say, given that it started on that basis.
Yeah, Mav and I were sort of each other's support networks.
How long ago did you guys meet, and then how long ago did you form the band? How long was that process?
Good question.
We met about 3.5 years ago. It was right at the start of first year.
Yeah.
Right. What university was it?
University
of Kent.
Okay.
Oh, Kent. Yeah, nice.
Kent at Medway.
So you were talking about how it was the Nightwalks album was inspired by these walks at night,
and therefore, well,
and then so you realised you all played music, and then you formed the band as a means of exploring these kind of in-depth conversations and energy that you had together.
Well, Luke and I were in a different band where I was playing bass. And Mana was in another band called Spirits. And we felt that those projects weren't as creatively fulfilling and didn't really say what we wanted to be talking about and what mattered to us in that way. So it just started as a side project.
Yeah. Remember there was one point where we wanted to call it Pigeon Carcass.
I forgot about that.
Really drunk on one of those walks, and we just saw a dead pigeon, and we're like, "Dude, let's call it Pigeon Carcass."
That's what we're all about.
Environmentalism, it can actually work.
Yeah.
I love these boys already.
Hey, talking of that, actually, one of the songs in your EP was about fish. I forget the title specifically.
Oh yeah.
Was that an environmental metaphor, by any chance? Was it about environmentalism in a sort of subtle way, or?
No, that's interesting that you get that interpretation of that.
Let's say yes now, because that's better than the reason we have.
Yeah, let's check.
Oh, okay. So tell us the actual.
We'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, tell us the inspiration behind it.
I guess at first it didn't really mean much to us, but we
needed to fill a line.
Yeah, because we liked it because it sounded like something, and then the more we sort of wrote the song around it, the more we sort of realized that wow, okay, this actually means being at rock bottom and being,
when the fish tear down their houses, that line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to be
oh, that's interesting.
I suggested it as a joke so that people would analyze it and be like, what does it mean? And it means nothing, but actually the rest of the song.
It created its own meaning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think lyrically, you're a really great band.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
There was one lyric in the song 3 that stuck out to me, where it says, "Don't stop rowing against the shore, because you only go back where you started from." Where you started, yeah. And I thought that was fantastic.
The first line.
Yeah,
We
and the delivery, had a lot of power behind it. That
think
song as well, it breaks down in a really interesting way. Like, I don't know, 2/3 in.
Yeah.
the bridge
In the song Free. Yeah,
Brilliant.
added a lot of variety to the song.
Yeah, and I love the atmospheric of your whole band. Actually, to be honest, I wasn't sure. Obviously, when you're listening to bands, and I listen to lots of different bands, I actually you were very surprising to me because you got a heavy side to you, and you got this kind of really melodic, and the vocals are fantastic. Are you doing harmonies in there, or is it?
Yeah,
are you just
quite a lot. Yeah.
are you doing Manav?
It's me and Charlie. I think one of the things we found when we first started jamming was that our voices blend together really, really nicely.
Yeah.
We just have this like complementing thing going on where it's just nice, and like the texture that our voices together create is really, really nice.
They complement each other. Yeah, it's not like a mismatch.
One of you plays the piano.
Oh yeah,
we could all play piano a bit. It's me on the track, but Luke plays piano arguably better than me. I was just being a dick about it.
Yeah, no, but I actually
you planted your flag on
through the piano part, so it makes sense that you played it. Like,
True.
That session recording it was
it was hell, man. Recording piano is like, I now understand why Luke is dead after our gigs.
The piano is very nice on Hail Mary.
So you
was that you then, Charlie, who recorded that?
Yeah.
As you say, so you wrote it, so in a sense you had roller's rights, like you got to play it on the track.
Right.
Nice, man.
This isn't a bad thing, but I went to sleep listening to you boys last night.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
That's sick. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about us.
Yeah. Also, big respect for being able to sleep to rock music. Brian Eno or nothing for me. I can't.
When I come to your gig, I'll just take a sleeping bag.
Yeah, just have a little nap. Yeah.
That was a joke. No, but actually, I was listening to it, and I fucking loved it. It was great.
Thank you.
And
that's interesting.
That song Free is such a powerful song.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you were a complete surprise because the whole vocal thing. Do you know what a mad thing is? It's a bit kind of I'd say it's a little bit like kind of. You probably hate this, but it's probably a little bit like the Chili Peppers meets the best parts of Coldplay and Simon Garfunkel.
I'll take that hard.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
So one thing is that genre-wise, you sound like it was an interesting mix between the sort of alternative, like you described on your Facebook, emo side, but also a little bit of classic rock there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've always sort of been strong believers of the fact that your songs should be a culmination of your influences, and they should always support what you're trying to say rather than what you're trying to just sound like. So we didn't want to be a band that sounded like something else. We wanted to use all our influences and put them together.
Yeah, that's
in a
right.
cohesive way.
So we'll take little bits from each influence.
So you want to be yourself, but you mean to sort of pay homage to those people in a respectful way without trying to.
Let's find out what your influences are, and I'll start with you, Manav.
Yeah, go.
Okay, I guess for the first EP, I was listening to a lot of like Manchester Orchestra. Listened to a lot of. I'm massively inspired by Sting as a musician and a songwriter.
Yeah, okay.
He's just phenomenal. I think he's one of the best songwriters ever because he's just the way he thinks, in the way he writes, and like his sort of thought process for writing bass parts and vocal parts and like the relationship between the two.
Yeah,
really, really interesting.
Remind me, I've got an article about that to send you, Manav.
Oh yes, please.
About Sting's vocal writing.
And of course, Radiohead, Tom York's always been.
Yeah, of course, phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to Charlie.
The main one is the Chili Peppers, but like only the stuff with Frusciante. He's the only good guitarist.
Yeah. Which album is that, by the way?
He did Mother's Milk, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Then he left for a bit to do drugs. Then he came back to do Californication, By the Way, and then Stadium Arcadian.
I like the side way he left.
Yeah, that's bang on, yeah.
Yeah, and then he played.
Yeah, I agree that they're best.
And he's a brilliant backing vocalist as well.
He's so good.
Yeah,
he's a pure artist. Yeah, he really.
So you're
really
right
lives and
then.
breathes it.
Saying there was Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that was true then to the extent.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, because
At the start of this band, I just wanted to be him.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, John Frusciante released a solo album, and it's because Nick was saying about falling asleep to it. Have you heard The Empyrean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he recorded it in 432 hertz instead of 440.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys have ever thought about doing or have already done?
We did think about it, but then decided it was bollocks.
Do you mean not using equal temperament, basically, as well?
No, it's the sort of changing the relationship. So it's not just temperament. It's when you change A from 440 to 432, everything's tuned down relative to that.
Yeah.
So
Which is supposed to be better, apparently, isn't it?
It's still equal tempo.
Yeah, it is related to the whole equal temperament thing. I guess it's so yeah, you're going to say, Luke, we're going to say something about that, or you came on for a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's still equal temperament. The relative space between all of the notes that you're tuning, it's just that it's whatever hertz amount lower. So if it's down to 432, you just drop 8, and then whatever the relative 8 would be.
You guys.
So Luke, I'm going to ask you the same question. So, who are your influences in the drumming or music world otherwise?
Well, I took a lot of influence from like a lot of jazz drummers. So like really like guys like Joe Jones and Max Roach, and newer guys like Steve Manley. But none of that sounds right within a rock context. But it's more kind of like seeing how they're approaching a song. One big influence in particular is Benny Greb, because I find whatever he's playing in, whatever kind of style, he'll have certain traits and approaches to sections of music. And I kind of take a lot of influence from that and try and put it into a rock context. And it kind of works, I guess.
There's things you can take from this, like the jazz drumming style without taking all of it.
Rock drumming. It's good. Yeah.
The thing is with jazz drumming, there's a massive sort of admiration for what they do, because it's actually kind of such a complex and some of the fills and stuff they do is just like it wouldn't even translate into a rock genre or any sort of pop genre or anything, right? And you just watch them and it's just like watching the greatest artists, and it's like you can see them and appreciate that, and you can aspire to be like that, but it's a very difficult sort of thing, because my dad was a jazz musician. So I grew up on listening to loads of jazz music, and whilst I never really it wasn't the sort of thing I wanted to dance to or get into, I could still listen to it and think, my God, that's really complicated and impressive and all that. But it was something that was kind of an area that I never wanted to get into. I was more just like happy playing in rock bands and punk bands and stuff like that. So I completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's like being a cartoon artist and admiring Leonardo da Vinci, you know?
And having an appreciation for it while not necessarily feeling like, when
doing
that kind of art.
You know, when you're in London, now you've got these caricature artists that all do the same picture, where they all look exactly the same. You sit down there and you're a tourist, and they draw your face, and they do a big nose and big lips and big ears.
Like a caricaturist, yeah.
Black and white thing. They knock it up in fire. They all look the same. They all look exactly the same. They look a bit like you, but so that's what contemporary music is versus sort of classical music and jazz.
Yes, which
I like that analogy.
Good point. So, did you guys all study music then, like at college or university, or
music tech? Yeah. At
All three
uni,
of you?
on the same course.
Oh, right.
We all sort of lived together as well. Charlie and Luke lived upstairs.
So when it comes to that, do you feel that theory has informed a lot of your music then, or is it more of a spontaneous process, or do you like sit down and compose like as a more conscious thing?
I'd say it's different for each of us. I approach music from quite a theoretical standpoint. I'm like, oh, well, we can do this because of these rules or whatever.
Right.
But I have a feeling the others approach it differently. I don't want to put words in their mouths.
No, I mean, well, we discussed it the other day actually, because I very much think of like, at least for this first EP, and sort of like my sort of thought process with songwriting changed a little bit over time. But for me, I guess it's always been about like, what are we trying to say? What's our message? And I think that complements well, because Luke, you're quite technical as well, aren't you? Or you're sort of mix between
that's
the two.
kind of the funny thing. Like, music performance at college kind of got me into the scene of approaching really theoretically and trying to compose exact parts. But then Charlie, like mostly Charlie, but Manav as well, like introduced me to like a bit like kind of heavier bands. I didn't really listen too much, and they were like, "Stop doing what you're doing, but do you." Technically, it's not good. It's bad. You know, there's a bit out of time, and you miss a snare hit, but that's the take we went with because it felt great. It had that best vibe to it. It had behind it. So I kind of had that weird blend, and I think that's pretty similar for all of us. It's such an emotionally driven EP. That even if there's lots of mistakes, but kind of the point. It's the aesthetics of failure.
Yeah. Ooh, sure. Good phrase. That's sick.
Yeah, we're stealing. We're putting that on our EPK.
Aesthetics of failure.
That was just stolen from one of our lecturers at uni. I just stole that phrase.
Okay, right. Okay. So you want to be copyrighted, that's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can tell from the music that you guys really care about it. And
it's fantastic.
You know what I mean? That really comes through.
I think
well
like,
produced as well. So,
very much each other. We all like. I think us being friends is so important for this band because we have just such a like awareness and like attitude towards each other and towards each other. How we our respect towards each other comes across quite a lot because we're sort of like admire. We're always, when we're writing, performing, rehearsing, whatever, we're always admiring each other as musicians, and that just seeped right into our playing.
And that's the winner.
Writing.
Well, I'm chuffed for you guys because that's a really good position to be in. So
my favorite part of all of our gigs has always been like there will be a time when Luke does a drum fill and Manav and I'll turn around and like, ooh, or Manav does the vocal thing and Luke and I'll do that to him, or I'll do something, and it's the best thing because we're playing for us. Which is
you're able to play with your favorite musicians. Like every time, Charlie always says this in every interview, like almost word for word. But every time the three of us play together, it's something special for us. Like just even if everyone else thinks it sounds awful, like the three of us just fully get into it.
Do you know why? Do you know why? It's because as a concept, the children that are your songs. When you're all locked in and you're all there and and everyone's playing it, each little nuance, and you've got it and you're banging, you're hearing, and all that time in rehearsal has been worth it. And it doesn't matter if you're playing to a bloke with a dog on a string or whatever, right? You're there and you're tight as fuck and you've got it. And
but that dog's going to be like...
That doesn't matter. It's just a sick dog, to be honest. So do you boys get any stage fright at all? Or any nerves? Pre-gig nerves?
We have done. That's for sure. I think it really depends on the day. Sometimes we're just like, everything's going well. It's great weather. We were well rested. We've eaten before the gig, and we're like, all our friends are here. This is gonna be great. And then other times it's like, shit. What do we do? What's gonna happen?
There was one gig where me and Charlie, your pedal board. We were building.
Don't.
We were like rewiring his whole.
Oh, we built it on the train.
Yeah,
we built the pedal board on the train.
Did you?
And we showed up the sound check. It didn't fucking work.
The power supply backwards or something. So like
We
about
hadn't
10
pushed
minutes
things
before
down all
going
the
on
way.
stage. Yeah, exactly. We hadn't got the pins in. But
We watched
10
like
minutes
30
before we were on
seconds of the
stage, it
video
wasn't
teaching you how to do it.
But that's
Fucking
how
hell.
beautiful it is. That's
So
how
as a
beautiful
race
life
against
is.
time, you were putting back together a pedal board on the train to a gig.
Yeah. We actually finished it 10 minutes before we went on.
Yeah, I was literally sitting.
But that must have felt awesome when it worked.
Yeah.
Well, one of the pedals broke.
Out of how many?
Awesome after a few
Out of 10. But it was the one on which I relied the most.
Nice.
But the general public never know this, and this is a beauty. You can play a song, fuck it up, and everyone will still think it's great. You
as long as you're like, you're still in it.
Look, you lot will give each other the sideways look. We were supposed to go into the middle eighth then. And you'll style it out, but no one else really knows.
Yeah, you'll sort of drift out of it into some other kind of channel. Yeah.
I remember I was watching you guys build that pedal board on the train, and you guys were like sweating, and like people were like staring at you, like.
It was the woman sitting next to us, just being like, "What's going on?"
Like, she's like my favorite person. She was like gassing us up, like, "Yeah, you guys got this. Like, it's gonna be a sick gig."
Yeah,
it's really good. I was going to say it's really good to have you on board because I remember ages ago when I first started the PAC. Actually, I spoke about it to you, Manav, about how when we were doing our first gig, we were trying to get you guys involved. I remember that.
Yeah, we were still back in Kent at that point. So it was
of course. But I mean, the interesting thing is that the PAC now. I mean, we're like I said, we're an artistic collective, and what I want you guys to understand is that we are really passionate about the whole sort of combination of the arts and mental health, where these things come together. And when you mention mental health as like a big part of it, that's really interesting too, and really appropriate too. So I was wondering, if you'd like to elaborate on that a bit, to what extent does that inform your lyrics or anything? Is that like a big part of it as well, do you think? Or
pretty much all of it, really.
Yeah.
it's like our main thing. Even on our sort of more recent things that we've been working on that haven't been released yet, it's always sort of been centered around this idea of self-care and like, being able to sort of like fight adversity and things like that. And speaking out about our depression.
And like striving to get better, even though you know that you're doing shit at the time. It's always like all our music is about striving to feel better.
I think that the hook in Free sort of sums it up perfectly. Really, don't stop running against the tide. Back where you started. That's sort of. I think the reason that's our favorite song, for me anyway, is because it's sort of the crux of our whole like message. It's just sort of like what we want to say in its purest form.
Which song?
That's excellent, and it's very relatable, man.
Well, which song? Sorry, which one?
Free.
Okay, yeah, that was a really good one. Yeah, that was really good. Really good. I mean, your different song lengths too. Longest one was the fish one, wasn't it? Then the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. That had a lot of interesting dynamics too. Because obviously, and with your harmonies, you talked about this earlier, but have you like always done literally recorded all three of yourselves at once, or did you sometimes overdub, or have you done it generally with that?
Always overdubs, always.
Okay.
Because there's no bleed, and if someone fucks up, you don't all have to do the song again.
But I mean, live.
Very good point. Very good point.
If it's live,
so do you start with the drums and then the bass?
With the drums, bass, guitars, vocals, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Except for Hail Mary, the piano to that first.
Yeah.
When you're live, is it harder to get the vocal balance down? But you still obviously manage it. But like, is it more sort of you find like
we thought it would have been. We really thought it would be it would have been a challenge to do it live, but I think it's just because Charlie and I we're quite tight when it comes to harmony. So even though there aren't three harmonies going on, there is like just sort of like the blend itself in and of itself.
Yeah. Do you two normally? Is it normally just the two of you? And oh, why did you say? It sounds almost like three songs, which is good. It's
three in the recordings.
Oh right, yeah. Okay.
And then just the two live.
Live has also sort of been a very different body to us than recording, just because it's like we can do really cool shit in the studio, and we can do all sorts of arrangements and cool things, but live, I think it's
also just
more
live.
Yeah, more of a test of what our songs are and the actual songwriting, and how that connects with people like at a really raw level.
Like for Hail Mary, we had to rearrange sort of completely. There's a drum part at the beginning now.
Yeah,
the
whole groove.
I love the drums on that track. They really give it like a lot of
on Hail Mary,
a lot of power. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man.
It's just the
I think.
Yeah,
I think sometimes when you're recording in the studio, there's a tendency to overlay that you can't reiterate in a live performance. So you have to keep that core element, the very basic, the very nerve of what you're doing, which will always transcend to the audience.
I think for us, that's normally always the melody. Like, it's always our core component that drives every song, really.
I was completely surprised by you guys. I must say that I was completely surprised. I was expecting something a lot different, but the whole vocal thing and the whole melodics of the whole band was really clever. Yeah, really clever.
And you know what? The name made me think that maybe it was like some kind of metal band. I don't know why. I didn't know what Halcyon meant.
Which is really good. Yeah.
So when I heard it, I was like, "Oh, this is actually more melodic than I was anticipating."
We review bands. We have a forum. We review bands and stuff, and they're kind of established bands anyway. So to hear you boys, it was kind of like, actually, this is fucking better than a lot of stuff I've been reviewing anyway.
Amazing.
And I'm surprised you're not signed already, and I really hope you do, because I will continue listening to your music. And when we get out of this kind of a nightmare pandemic hoax thing that's going on, I'll come and see you, because you're fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, we do a big festival. You guys can play. Who knows? Yeah, why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you guys live. Yeah.
So with the whole genre thing, then, would you say, just what I could tell, Charlie, you the most sort of metal oriented anyway by nature, or have you at all? Is that your
most what orientated?
Metal. Do you like got metal influence? Do you think at times?
No.
More rock then.
I don't think I've ever listened to metal.
Okay, you look quite metal. You look quite metal.
People say that a lot. They're like, "Oh, so you must listen to metal from your music." I'm sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm all about funk and the Beatles. If you have any metal recommendations, hit me up. I would love to get into it.
Sure. I mean,
I'll
add you boys on Facebook. Sure. But I mean, I could see like a lot of different rock influences, certainly. Like, across, like, there's some definite heaviness there. There was the screaming part, which I guess is that more from the emo genre? Would you say though? Rob?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Emo has been such a it sort of keeps us grounded, I guess. Emo as a genre, it's always something, especially when we first started the band. Charlie and I would talk about bands like The Hotelier and Modern Baseball, that sort of thing. It's just this sort of little DIY thing where every sort of song you hear is incredibly honest and has this just energy to it. There's no I guess screaming doesn't really serve an aesthetic function as much as it does an emotional function. So that's why we have screaming in our songs at moments where we feel that it would be most powerful, rather than just going for it. It's constant screaming and just
not just using it as a gimmick, but
Well, good hard rock and metal bands use it more the same reasons you do as well, as opposed to just as a gimmick. Like, it depends on the band, doesn't it? Really, everyone uses different levels for different things, I guess.
Sam Carter from Architects at the time was a massive influence on me.
And they're sort of they're metalish, aren't they? Or
they're like metalcore, I guess.
Metalcore. Okay, yeah.
But
I actually haven't heard them probably yet. Yeah.
I mean, they're I'm not as into them as I was then, but I still admire him so much as a vocalist, just because of the range and the emotional, just guttural screams that he does. But then also got these really soft, delicate vocals that he'll just do in choruses and everything. But as well as that, another thing about our songs, I think, Charlie, I messaged you this the other day, but I saw this Phoebe Bridgers interview that said your best ideas always come from jokes, and so many of our ideas have been oh my god, how funny would it be if we wrote a song like this, and then bits around it. Like
3 was a complete joke. We're like, what if it was like funk, but then like hard rock, but then like Radiohead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you have literally
We
tried to mix 3 different genres for that.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, clever song. I love it.
That's a fun process.
I'll listen to it again and see if I can
you just come up with jokes, and then if a song comes out of it,
Pretty much.
It's just kind of irritating sometimes because sometimes I just want to write a banger. Sorry, what are you saying, Nick?
I was just saying, all we do is musical shit posting.
That's all you do. It's so like he'll do the Ringo Starr fill live to try and throw me off. And it works every time.
Musically, and it works on a comedic level for you as well.
Oh, just shut up.
Ringo knew what you were doing, man.
Well, there you go, mate.
Don't say that.
Now, I would love to say that, but I can't. I just can't.
I'll kill you. I'll see you.
Such a beat.
Luke, it's funny because when you play the Ringo Starr fill, that's
I'll
the most
throw a lot of
enticing
out there
you
for
ever
Ringo.
Sorry, I was actually listening.
You're imitating
to
Ringo
valid
Starr, so you're
comment.
playing perfectly in time.
Luke, you got destroyed.
This is, I mean, I would react, but I'm used to it.
So yeah, classic rock.
Nothing less.
As you were saying, classic rock has obviously been a big part as well. I guess new influences, like so. There comes back to that, I guess, because classic rock's also, I guess, got more humour by nature as well. You know, there's always a bit of joke to the Beatles. I mean, not most of the time they were serious, but they'd have a lot of jokey songs and stuff.
Oh yeah, like I Am the Walrus is a shitpost. Just completely.
Yeah.
You mean in modern terms, you could say it's like a shitpost?
Yeah, but it's a proto shitpost.
I can't wait to write Halcyon.
I'm never gonna put together. I'm too old, maybe. I don't know. Like, okay. Yeah. It's a good point, actually. The one thing I was just thinking is, now I come to think of it, a lot of those bands had that whole sort of the counterculture and like the whole like psychedelic thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But is that in any way in your music as well, do you think? Is there a bit of psychedelia there?
It's like in some of the stuff that we're writing now.
Oh,
there's a little bit of stuff.
We want that to be.
Oh, cool.
But there was that one song, what's it called? In the End. That's not done yet.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one. Is that on your EP or not?
Oh, it's not done yet.
We've got a lot of songs that we've written for the future.
Dude, we've got like 8 songs. We need to do something.
It's also so like obviously going back then that comes back to the lockdown and this whole thing. Us wanting to do our second EP and like we really want to sort of like record and really pay for it, like not necessarily get a really good PR campaign going and really just sort of like push it to as many people as possible because it's just like we love our first EP and it's such an important thing to us. We've learned so many things from that. Yeah. Like re-promoting and things like that. So we really want to sort of try.
Do you boys have day jobs then?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. What do you do then, Mav?
Oh yeah, I work at a film studio.
Okay, what film studio?
Twickenham Studios.
Okay, yeah.
Big flex.
Doing.
I'm a runner there.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. So you've kind of got 2 different things going, like with your music. And is film something you want to carry on with, like make into a career?
I've always been into composing. I've always wanted to be a composer, and I just want to sort of make as many friends as possible, really. So that's just sort of how it be, really.
So going to
cool, man. Well done.
At the studios, because I guess. This is a film studio, but you can still meet composers without film composers, I guess. You know what I mean? This is what I love about it. Everything's in the arts all linked, isn't it?
Luke, so what do you do as a day job?
I'm a drum sales specialist. So
wow. There we are.
This is what I do all day.
Happy yeah.
For all your Bristol drum needs, go to Luke.
And whereabouts is this?
That's in Bristol.
Okay. So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Luke, have you guys reopened?
Yeah, the stores have. Yeah.
Nice. Luke, do you have a Ice Blue American Original Jazz Master?
There'll be one in the company. I'll put a word in.
They're out of stock everywhere.
Oh, they actually.
I know we've got some really nice 58 reissues. I know you're a big Gibson guy, so
I'll kill you.
just
Nah.
$5,000. Shoot me the $5,000. We're all good.
I'll shoot you. Yeah.
That's all it will take.
So Charlie, what do you do then?
I'm doing a master's in music performance, and I'm a part-time mastering engineer. And I work
Okay.
at a business as well, but that's
What software are you using in your mastering?
Logic.
Yeah, I was going to say, like with that, like music technology, it can get convoluted. Like for example, recently I found out how to create like a theremin sound using just like a synthesizer on Logic, just through editing the sound. But even that took me a little bit of time to figure out what I was doing. But that's a good thing. I think the more you have to work with it, the more you get to use it properly, and then you can use it more in editing and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can play it at Stonehenge.
Yeah, why not?
The only time people want to listen to a theremin, mate.
Yeah, well,
When they're out.
What about Good Vibrations?
What the best pop song ever written?
Yeah,
The only pop song ever written.
Yes,
That's just
that's true.
Good Vibrations.
Go home. Yeah, Good Vibrations. Fucking slaps.
No, it's not enough to use there, but better come back.
All you guys have a job that's like related to your music on some
related
level.
and creative
Yeah. That's great. Do you think that's important, like as part of being in a band, like? Because we've all got to work and have a job as well, but if it's
surround yourself with your environment.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's integral. Like the guy from Modest Mouse works like in an office job, or really did for a long time. Yeah. I'm not sure. Like it's cool. It's much more fun, but I'm not sure it's important in that sense. Feel free to.
Yeah. It's not integral, as you say. Like, and if you work in an office, maybe it just makes you want to play music more when you've got free time.
I'd be very interested to hear these new tracks of yours that are more psychedelically influenced. They sound really.
They're just the sort of next step for us that came about very naturally. We had a sort of lull after we graduated uni, and we sort of needed that time, I guess, to recover from graduating, dealing with things like
the mad thing.
Dealing with being in your early 20s, really. And I think a big part of our thing is just like being aware of our surroundings, being aware of our environment. And we couldn't do that until we had an environment to be aware of. So then when we sort of got back together and we recorded another song that we'd written a while ago, and then we wrote this.
That was sick. Sorry, real fast. We hadn't played together since like October, and we recorded it in February, and we did it in 6 hours, and it slaps.
The mad thing is about playing in a band is that you do a recording, all right? You spend all this time doing the recording, and then it finally comes out, but in your rehearsals, you've actually worked out loads more stuff, and you've advanced so far that the stuff that you recorded that you're really pleased with, you think, my God, we've
written for free.
Well, in any case, when you release a new song, send them our way. We'd love to hear them. So
we definitely will.
What we'll probably do
is more psychedelic. How do you mean, like more experimental? Like the effects
just one song that's a bit psychedelic.
Sorry, say that again.
I think like a main focus is texture quite a lot. Actually, like Charlie, your guitar parts, you're working even more so with pedals than you did before.
And I got the Ed O'Brien signature Strat does like a sustain thing, and it's like, oh, I've got a
it's a sustainer pickup instead. But like, I think texturally, I think that will be a big change for us. What we're doing for the new stuff.
I hope it's as good. I think
you have an exciting sound anyway. So this is kind of like whatever you do in a direction is going to be kind of, as far as I'm concerned, a massive kind of evolution. Music, and I love what you're doing already.
Yeah,
I love what you're doing already. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
and it's good as a 3-piece. You're all on the same page, and you can keep it like on lock.
As a 3-piece, I say you sound fucking amazing.
I was going to say you sounded bigger.
You can add so much sound even just with 3 people. Yeah.
We've always been told we sound bigger than we do. I think that's part and place to the fact that we're like tight as a band, really.
Yeah.
I think it's just people forget all the.
Well, it's like Rush, isn't it? Many 3 pieces that are all like loads of power trios, Cream, and all that, like, you know, back in the day. But like, they sounded massive too. You can do that.
Yeah. And it helps being multi-instrumentalist as well, because you don't have to go out find a keyboard player. You know, you can plonk one of you guys on the keys. You know what I mean? And keep it in family.
Yeah.
Well, music.
No session musician fees for us.
I was always using music with 3-piece, for example. You know, you can do a lot if you know how to do it. So,
totally.
So with the whole, because it's interesting we bring up the whole fact that you're progressing in a sense, because we are like inherently a progressive entity. The PAC is part in our name, so how do you see that? Like, do you feel you're becoming like literally a progressive band, or just you're progressing naturally towards something, or like how do you feel what you're moving towards? How do you feel
That's such a big question.
Well, that's a massive question.
I'll take this one.
My personal view is that we're slowly becoming Halcyon.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
We're
well
involving ourselves a bit more. I think these new songs that we've written, like they very much feel like we just sat down and we just like literally we like in the space of a few weeks is when we wrote this second EP. In comparison, the first EP was written over about a year and a half.
Oh, right.
So this is far more cohesive. We're paying way more attention to things like narrative, to tone, to like how we deliver. You know, we're really focusing in on those nuances that we built for ourselves, that we got so good at. With the first EP, and now we're exploring them further to take them to a place where we feel like we can use those nuances more effectively.
Yeah.
It sounds mature.
Way. Yeah.
Right. Sure.
Actually, your relationship with each other as musicians, because you gel and you think, okay, we're great with this is good, and we got a sound here, we can work on this, and then as you trust each other's playing, that kind of starts to grow and it starts to expand, and all of a sudden it's like kind of got this fucking womb full of a child of music, which is kind of fucking about to fucking give birth to the world, and that's what it's like. He's got this.
Yeah, your band is a womb,
and it's always
that's how we've always thought of it.
No, he's brilliant. He's making a great point. Like,
we're a womb,
and
I
you will find that.
I mean, trust.
But I've played loads of bands, and sometimes it's like the weakest link, because you're playing a band and there'll be one member of the band you think, oh god, you know, oh dear, but when you actually meet a group of musicians who actually can deliver and fulfill a soundscape, basically a soundscape that you all log into, and once that all clicks, you can jam a song, right? You can be you've got an idea for a song, and you could just play the same riff for 50 minutes, right? But there'll be 3 minutes of that 50 minutes where you all click together, and you're like, fucking, that's it. And you'll all remember.
Just leave
that
the mic
bit,
on, you know.
And you'll all remember that bit, and that'll be the bit that fucking you go back to and gel and.
And
I think
it's 3 minutes.
I can
50
hear that in your music.
You know,
thank
not
you.
to be underestimated. Yeah.
There's a big thing you said about trust and like growing to trust each other, and I think that really happened with this thing that we're currently working on. We trust each other more as musicians, more as writers, and more as like what we're doing.
Well, we'll probably finish in like next, I guess, 10 minutes. So we've got a few more questions. I've got one more, and then everyone else could just ask like one. But my question was like one of your lyrics. Fortunately, I was in a bit of a haze this morning, so forgive me if I don't remember the exact song this was from, but one of your songs, you had the line, "You can still be in heaven even though you're alive."
Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Hail Mary, yeah. That's the one. It was really great, but I was trying to figure out the context. It was interesting. What was the inspiration behind that, or what is it? In the context of the song.
Well, Hail Mary it's inspired by If, the poem If. By,
right, yeah.
Not familiar with that.
Yeah.
Surely you are, Tristan. It's a very famous poem.
I've heard of it. I haven't listened. I haven't read it.
I'll send it to you after. But it's essentially just about like when I first read the first few lines of the poem, I liked them more than the rest of it. So I was like, I'll just carry that bit on. But then
also on if you can keep your head while all others are losing theirs. And then there's the joke one which says,
keep your head above water.
It's possible you haven't absorbed the gravity of the situation.
Yeah. But with Hail Mary, that song is very much it's very much about just like pushing. It's very much like the fight. And it's also about but as well as that, it's also about realizing that you can be better even though you're sort of existing, even though when you're depressed, existing feels so hard. So you can still reach a state of normality, what you'd consider normality, or what you'd consider happiness, in a life where you feel that existence is really, really difficult.
Well, I resonate very much with that line because I'm not religious, but I do think heaven and hell are kind of emotional constructs that you go through alive anyway. So I think it makes a powerful point whether or not you were making a metaphor or you're religious. I think, do you know what I mean? It can emanate to anyone.
It was definitely a metaphor.
Yeah.
I think musically you're very talented, but the lyrics alone are stand out. I would say they are stand out. They're actually, you could pick any lyric out of most of your songs, and you'd actually say that's fucking clever and poignant. Yeah. Music is about creation, right? Unless you got the right partners, right? Unless you got the right partners, you can't create the child that is going to be that song that goes out there and everyone loves. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So without Luke banging on the drums and doing his lovely little fills, and playing
before the last chorus is free.
And playing off Chris and Charlie, and you, Manav, on the bass and the vocals, and that whole thing gelling together. You would that the creation which you got, and I'm really impressed with. I have to tell you that I was so pleasantly surprised with your sound, and I'd love to come and see you live. And hats off to you boys.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'd love to come see a gig whenever they start happening again.
Yeah. I think you guys would be welcome to play one of ours.
Hopefully, when we play one, it'll be a big party because
we should organise something.
That'd be sick. Yeah.
We'd love to have you guys perform at one of our events, for example.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
definitely on that.
Yeah. Well, from particularly a drummer's standpoint, I thought the drumming, you had a good way of knowing when to drop back and then knowing when to come in, and it seemed like all three of you were on that similar page when it came to that. Because if that keeps growing from album to album, you guys have a great future.
So I think it'd be interesting to hear psychedelia mixed with emo and that'd be really.
We'll find out. We'll find out if it works. Shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
About that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, mate. Cool.
Lawrence, you got any?
Luke, how long have you been playing drums for?
So I first started playing when I was 13, but then I stopped for ages, and then kind of started again when I was 17ish, and
okay, yeah.
Then properly started when we started at mine and Charlie's previous band before.
You're kidding me? That's when he started properly drumming.
Oh yeah.
That was called Paint Store.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And how old are you now, mate?
I'm gonna be 22 next month.
But I didn't ask how old you're gonna be.
I am.
You what then?
Oh, cool. So
t-shirt, looking off. Right.
You guys
give you, man. And I'll tell you, for me, I'm 26. I've been playing since I was 13 as well, and it just gets better and better every year. You love playing music more and more. Yeah, it never gets boring.
And the same, I find with the composition, because so for me, when I wrote, I've always been able to write film scores and stuff, which I found easier. When I was writing metal and rock stuff, it would just give me both those genres. It'd be a bit of rock and metal, but it would just be influenced completely by whatever I was listening to, which is fine, but at the point where there was nothing original at all. But I hadn't found my own sound, if that makes sense. But then once I learned music theory, that for me was finding my own sound. But everyone's got their own way. And I think for you guys, it may have been a mixture of absorbing your influences and then playing together and learning theory together, basically. Because I guess music tech involves plenty of theory as well, isn't it? As well as like the whole technology aspect.
I suppose, that was a big part of it. The more we learned at uni, the more we sort of brought it to each other and like developed on ideas that we learned from our lectures, turning into things that we were that we love creating.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing for me was when we started this band, wanted to be Frusciante really bad, and the other two be like, stop. And then I actually had to grow, because that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in Halcyon.
Yeah.
I realized that like 2 years ago, so thank you.
We push each other so in such a positive way.
Yeah.
That it's always like we're always very constructive. We always give each other we always tell each other like, this is good, this is good, this is bad, and but neither is good nor bad. It's just like, this is Halcyon, this isn't.
Yeah. It's never like, you are bad for not doing this right. It's always like, well, maybe not for this song, or maybe the best thing to do.
So either it kind of just clicks, or it doesn't, essentially.
Yeah.
It sort of feels right, or it doesn't.
You have to have honesty in a band, because being a band is one of the closest relationships you can have. And you can have relationships with the girlfriend and that, but when you're in a band that is that tight knit and creative, you're sharing ideas, you're sharing like bass licks and guitar riffs and drum fills and vocals and all that, and you want to create the best for everyone in that band. And so that passion and that relationship is really important
I
think and it shows.
To be able to throw out ideas in a free atmosphere, because you don't have to like every idea, but just the freedom to be able to say whatever's come to you.
I think that's something really important about us, is that we are so aggressive with each other, be it positive or saying that it's not for this song. Like, we will angrily shout at each other that I love you and I want to cuddle you to sleep tonight. But
it's your homies.
We'll also shoot down. There were sessions where we'd be writing at uni in the studio, or like in a little practice pod or something. We'd be writing and we'd throw out loads and loads of ideas, like 100 plus, and all of them would be shot down for that song. We'd be like, it's not this, it's not this song, or it's not this band. I really love that idea. It doesn't work here. That's not the best idea you've had.
That's it though. Like, just the freedom to say the ideas, and also the freedom to tell each other.
We also have the rule of 2 against 1. That's really important to us. Like, if someone has an idea and someone else and the other person, say I had an idea, Luke hated it. If Manav liked it, we would put it in the song. If Manav hated it, we would not put it in the song.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Bit of democracy going on there. I like it.
And we've all lost pretty much equally.
It was always such a judgment-free zone with us.
Yeah.
We were friends before we were in a band, so we always had this like conscious idea that we're always going to be open and honest with each other. We're always going to be completely sort of not blunt, but just
honest.
The word for it.
You're out there to make music, not to pussyfoot around each other's feelings, kind of thing.
Nothing personal.
Out of curiosity, have you ever had an incident in the studio where you couldn't agree on something and all three of you were fighting your corner?
I'm definitely sure we have, but I can't remember what about.
I mean, we always butt heads, but like Charlie was saying, we have that 2 against 1 rule, and even if we're not happy about that, we do stick to it. We respect that.
If it's weird of us fighting our corner, then it's sort of none of the ideas work, because they're not, because we always, our ethos is sort of it's the 3 of us coming together, not the 3 of us trying to decide who's out of the 3's idea wins.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no winner.
That's great.
Staying together.
Nice.
That's good.
Cool, man. So again, as I said earlier, I'm impressed you guys managed to get an EP out just before lockdown, because recording during, that would have been, frustrating. So I think you got it out just at the right time, and you can start planning for when it's all over.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get some gigs lined up and hit the ground running, mate.
More than anything else, I want to hear the rest of the songs that fill your set.
The other one is "Say It Ain't So" by Weezer, and that's it.
And Sun.
And
Sun.
That'll be out soon.
Really
I need to send you guys a new mix.
We never play anymore.
Which one?
Yeah.
Big up
Cool.
Cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, we've got
do I still have to demo that, or can we
Yeah,
just?
I reckon we should. Just
Oh,
for you love it so much, Charlie. So.
I hate it.
So how long is your set?
Usually about 40 minutes. I think the longest set we played is 45 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit. No, we played an hour-long set once.
Was that the
There's
head?
been a lot of talking shit in between.
There's a lot of talking. We did.
So it's the same
like
set, but you just chatted more shit between songs.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's a lot of Charlie fixing his distortion pedal.
That happens so much at gigs. I was like, oh, fuck, lads, give me a hot set. The worst one was I spent like 5 minutes trying to fix it, and my volume knob was down.
Oh, my God.
That was the
funniest thing.
That was good, though. The practical aspect of it was like, you know, it's not always that hard to get kind of bands on. You have to just, if the bands are good enough and they know what they're doing, like I'm saying, like, you know, it's like you guys, obviously, if you know what you're doing, you just get on a stage, you've got your equipment, right? It's not that hard to set up, I guess. You've got
and there's always something you're prepared to go wrong. Like something can go wrong technologically, or someone's late. You know,
times,
you know, these things, like, you got to roll with it. You know,
and the DIY ethos is really good. I love that. I think that's what like a lot of great bands were built on. When you just have the ability to just go with it. You know,
keep on trucking, man. Keep on trucking.
That's it. Yeah.
Why are you referencing the Grateful Dead? What is being?
Why are you not referencing the Grateful Dead?
He's wearing the hat and all.
I said "Man of a Grateful Dead" song once, and he told me it was too white.
He's not wrong, but
I know.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say the song was too white. I said I'm not white enough for this because I'm not.
Oh, to be fair, the nuance is important.
That's a more diplomatic way of saying
important
it.
to us as well. We're all about semantics.
You gotta love Grateful Dead.
Anyway, so I think we're approaching the end now, so we probably need to finish very soon. But that was really good, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this has been great.
Really excellent interview, really interesting, and
We're
great luck.
Thank you very much, guys. You've been absolutely marvellous.
No, thanks for having
It's been
us.
Halcyon.
And thanks for being so nice about the EP.
Yeah, thanks for loving it.
Nightwalks.
I did love it.
Yeah.
I'm going
Listen to it now.
I'll start promoting it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it again as well. So,
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Well, while you're in bed.
Big sound for a 3-piece, and that's what I admire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said too. Very true.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You know, so
all the best with, you know, gigs and getting the next EP out there and all that stuff.
We'll keep you posted on stuff we do in the future. Like, we'll send you our second EP once it's done.
Great.
Yeah.
It's psychedelia stuff. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Just one thing about
keep on keeping on, guys.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Well, okay. So
good night, lads.
See you guys soon.
Yeah.
Coming. Bye.
We'll see you guys on the next one. Cheerio.
Yeah.